In this episode, we'll hear from someone in Catan, Pennsylvania, who says they saw something that got out of a nearby facility. Then, we go to the Pacific Northwest, where we hear from a man and his dog who were very close to something very big. And finally, we go back to the East Coast to hear from a couple who saw something scary while camping. So, let's get right into the stories. I have something really scary to tell you. 3 months ago, this happened behind my house, and on a Saturday night, I had a few friends over, and we all hung out in my backyard and played cornhole. Recently, I and a few of my friends got really into playing cornhole. So now we play whenever we can. You wouldn't believe how much money I've spent on different kinds of bags. Anyway, it's about 8 o'clock at night. We had been playing and drinking for a few hours when we heard this really strange sound coming from the back of my property. We were playing under the lights because I have a big old spotlight in my backyard that lets us play late at night. Now, I hunt, and so do a lot of my friends. We all hear this noise, but no one knows what it could be. I don't know if I could even describe it, but think of a bullfrog and a gorilla mixed together. I know that sounds crazy, but it's the best way I can think of to explain it. I know that it doesn't make sense, and so did we, but we kept hearing it. So, my friend John thought it would be a good idea for us to go into the woods and try to figure out what's making this sound. 4 of us decided to go look for something. I got a flashlight, and we went into the woods. Now, when we were playing cornhole, this thing sounded like it was maybe 40 or 50 yards away. From what I could see. We're in the woods near where I thought the sound was coming from, but now it's even farther away. We go deeper into the woods, and the sound moves like it's trying to get away from us or lure us into a trap. Well, it was definitely the latter, because what happened next is why we don't play cornhole at my house anymore. My friend John yells to everyone, "Hey, look over there by that tree." I don't know what else to call this thing, so we're going to see it. This yellowish, hairless creature was standing behind the tree with its claws wrapped around the front of the tree, as if it were hugging it. As soon as John said that, something jumped out from behind the tree and started making strange noises that sounded like they were coming from the back of its throat. It had a square-shaped head and red eyes that were set very far apart. It appeared to have 3 or 4 rows of teeth in its mouth. It looked like it could bite through an arm or leg if it got hold of one. All over its body, its veins were also popping out. I feel kind of sick just thinking about it. Also, it was pretty tall, maybe a foot taller than us, but it was skinny but strong. My friend Will, who, thank God, was always carrying, took out his 9, shot at this thing 3 times, and missed. It moved as soon as he reached for his weapon, and it moved so quickly that it seemed to know what would happen before it happened. We didn't see it again after that. After Will shot at it, it just took off. I didn't know what to do. I didn't tell the police anything because I wasn't sure what to say. We now play cornhole at John's house, and we all carry all the time. I rented out my house, but I found somewhere else to live. I don't want to live anywhere that thing could be hiding. My front yard. What in the name of God? Could this have been it? Some of my friends think it got out of a place near where I used to live. No one really knew what went on in that warehouse. All of it is fenced in, too. And really far away from anywhere. Before one of my friends showed it to me on Google Maps, I didn't even know it was there. I don't know if they're doing crazy genetic experiments back there or if this thing came from another world or underground. One thing is certain, though. I don't want to meet that problem again. Thank you, Daryl. Hey, normally I would keep this kind of thing to myself, but I really like your show because of how well you treat everyone. I'm not looking for drama or trouble. You get what I'm saying? When I was done setting up my new truck camper, all I wanted to do was go into the woods and enjoy the peace and quiet, especially with all the freaking problems. I had to get in shape to get everything going. My first trip was to the Umpqua National Forest in Oregon to get away from the crazy heat we've been having. I met a guy online who was always talking about the amazing crystals he was finding. They were out of this world. You could sell gem shells for a lot of money. He was pulling them from the ground. When we were kids, my brother and I always looked for rocks. I love that if you know where to look, you can find amazing things for free. It took me a few 10-hour driving days, but my dog Jack and I made it to Grants Pass, Oregon, and found Patrick, you know, the guy who runs the internet. He was going to find me a place to dock my boat without electricity near Myrtle Creek. North, about an hour. We got coffee at the diner there. Patrick's green eyes and wild hair made him look like some kind of forest spirit. He was shy and didn't seem like he belonged in town. He told me that because he liked to plant baby fir trees, he knew places in the woods that most people didn't. He was right in the middle of everything out there. He was driving this old station wagon with half of the roof caved in at the back. I went with him out of town until we got to this dirt road next to a creek. Then we kept going west until we were all surrounded by these huge trees. I'm telling you, they were huge, and it looked like there had never been anything there before we got there. And other than the sound of the river, it was dead quiet. With all those trees, you'd think you'd hear a few birds. I don't hear a single bird sound. Patrick showed me a level spot where I could park the camper and get set up. He took a tool roll out of the back of the station wagon, and unrolled it on the ground. There were hammers, chisels, headlamps, safety glasses, and other tools in there. He looked like he knew what to do. He took 2 black vinyl ponchos with hoods out of his backpack and told me in a whisper that I should wear one. I thought that was strange. Even though it didn't rain, he said in a whisper that it would help us stay hidden. I didn't understand, but I didn't argue. It was so dark and quiet that you already felt like you were hidden from everything, but you couldn't even speak out loud. In exchange for helping him list and sell his finds, he was going to take me to one of his favorite spots upstream. I put a leash on Jack and got him ready to go. Then Patrick said that bringing the dog wasn't safe, not safe. What was the point? It was weird, but Patrick seemed like someone you didn't ask questions about, like why are we wearing ponchos? How come the dog won't come? Why are there holes in your car? I put Jack's leash on him and we went into the brush along the river. Once you were inside, you could just barely make out a path. I had been driving for 2 days and had been sweating a lot. It was getting dark, and I was hungry and kind of sticky from all the sweat. But I knew Patrick didn't have much time and that this was a rare chance to have a guide with so much experience. The stream was moving very quickly, but then we came to a place where it slowed down, spread out, and went into a shallow cave. Patrick pointed to the cave as if we were supposed to go there. We put on our flashlights and went into the cave. It smelled? It smelled like a dirty person had lived there for weeks, but we were pretty far from civilization, so I wasn't sure what to think. When Patrick started digging right away near the water, he found these beautiful crystals right away. I was speechless. How could that be so close to the surface? I started to eat them, and it was like I was in a dream because they were so good. I was digging up something beautiful, but it smelled really bad. I was totally focused on my search. It was so quiet and dark. Then, Suddenly, my dog, Jack, burst out of the mouth of the cave. He was barking, howling, and tearing at my poncho like he was possessed. He looked like a cat with all of his hair standing on end. He dragged and dragged at me, pulling me toward the opening of the cave. Then I heard the most unearthly whooping sound, and the smell became unbearable. At the entrance to the cave, rocks started to fall from the ceiling. Jack's eyes were wide open. I had no choice but to let him drag me outside. It was chaos everywhere, with rocks, water, mud, and howling. Then, all of a sudden, I saw this brown, hairy mass that was about 10 feet tall. I ran away when it howled and swiped at me. I blindly followed Jack out of that house and didn't stop until we were both in the truck and the doors were locked. Patrick quickly caught up, jumped into his car, and drove away. As I ran out of those woods, I was shocked. I couldn't figure out what was going on. My 30-pound dog had pulled his stake out of the ground to come find me and save me from this thing. I later read that people had seen Bigfoot in that area, which made me wish I had known that sooner. Some even said that pheromones were used to get him out of hiding. After not taking a shower that day, I'm sure I gave off some pretty ripe odors, but holy cow. I'm speechless. I don't want to cause trouble. Hey, I go to Temple University and study psychology. I watch a lot of cryptid channels and really like your show. I'm interested in how people see monsters in the dark, but I've never been a big believer in mythical animals or the supernatural. But I had a strange experience this summer that makes me question what I thought I knew. I've thought about the event many times, and no amount of reasoning or psychological theories can explain the physical evidence I saw. I want to tell myself that I didn't see anything supernatural, just a normal animal that my adrenaline-fueled mind mistook for a demon, but I wasn't alone and the person with me described what I saw in great detail. I have to say that what I saw scared me. But the student in me won't give up, so I made sure she wrote down what she saw before we talked about it. I didn't want to talk about it first because I didn't want our memories of the event to get mixed up. Sorry, I sound like a nerd, but this is why I first started listening to cryptozoology podcasts and YouTube channels, to learn about how people think. I guess I should tell you what happened before. 2 months ago, I went to a party at the home of a friend in West Philadelphia. I met a cute engineering major from Drexel, and we hit it off. During the conversation, it became clear that she liked backpacking a lot and that, after she graduated, she wanted to hike the whole Appalachian Trail. I spent a lot of my childhood camping and playing outside. So I told her we could go backpacking together sometime. It's kind of weird to offer to take a girl you just met alone into the woods, but she was all for it. So, we decided to go the next weekend. I'm not from Philly, so I don't really know the area, but I heard that the New Jersey Pine Barrens weren't too far away, and I wanted to show her how much I knew. It didn't seem like enough to just take a short walk on a busy trail. So, we went to South Jersey to do something I hope will be fun in the Pine Barrens. At first, it was weird that it was just the two of us. No one else was there to add to the conversation when it got boring, but I thought it was still good. About 3 miles into the hike, I smelled something strange. It smelled like fireworks had just been set off nearby. There was a smelly haze in the air that smelled like sulfur. She scrunched up her nose, and she could also smell it. She tried to get away from the smell while walking past me, but she yelled and jumped back. She gave me a wide-eyed look and nodded toward the path behind her. There was a torn-up deer body in the way. I could see tracks in the sand where the car had been. It looked like someone or something had put the body there on purpose. I think we scared away any bears or coyotes that might have been eating their kill, When we were nearly there, we walked a few more miles and set up camp. Our plan was to walk to a different trail that would loop back to where we parked in the morning. She brought a small tent, and since it was summer, I didn't bring mine. I just put my sleeping bag down and tied a tarp over me in case it rained. She probably would have let me into the tent, but I didn't want to assume anything. After a few hours of sleep, I was woken up by something. My skin was prickling like I was in dry desert heat. We smelled sulfur again, but this time it was stronger than when we were near the dead deer that had been cut up. I felt like I was breathing in smoke. My nose and throat hurt. When my eyes got used to the dark, I saw this shape at the edge of the clearing. The shape was big and had a thin neck and a long head that looked like a horse's. Its bright red eyes kept drawing my attention away from the rest of its body. She stuck her head out of her tent and asked me if I could smell the sulfur. She gasped when she saw what I was looking at by the tree. It screamed and jumped into the air, spreading its bat-like wings as it went. As it flew away, it hit a branch of a tree about 20 feet up. We both look at each other as if we don't know what's going on. I wanted to leave everything behind and start walking back to the car right away. But we both knew that it was too dark to get there. The rest of the night we didn't sleep well, so I went into her tent. If this thing came back, I didn't want to be out there just under my tarp. The tent couldn't protect us, but at least it kept us hidden. From the start. We stood up to go. On the way out, we saw the branch. It broke on the ground and it also left this indent on the soil where the creature took off. I haven't went camping since, but that girl that I dated is now my girlfriend. Thanks for listening to my crazy story. Let me know what you think about these stories in the comments below. Thanks and take care.